floor to begin your constructive speech.
We are affirmative on the fact that the U.S. federal government should pass the 3-year Border and Daca Extension Act. For a quick definition, Daca is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. Daca has some pretty straightforward criteria, in that individuals under the age of 31 as of 2012 of June are allowed in. You have to have come to the U.S. before the 16th is another option. You have to have continually resided in the U.S. since June of 2007. You must have remained physically present in the U.S. since June of 2012. You must have had no unlawful status since June of 2012. You could potentially be a high school graduate or a GED certified individual. That would allow you to be falling under the DACA program. And you must not have been convicted of a felony or 3 misdemeanors, as that would leave you unable to qualify. Under the present system, there are plans to revoke DACA, but currently people who are in the DACA program are the only ones currently enabled to redo their status. What we seek for change is that the DACA program should be extended for 3 years to allow the safe and legal immigration status to these children, young men and women, so that we are more economically sound and they are as well more economically sound and safe. Why should we care? This is a human rights issue, and it should not be ignored. When it comes to children and our compassion as a nation, we should be caring for our young, even those who were brought here without knowledge of what was occurring. And we need to be a good leader as America for the rest of the nations of the world and set a good example. There are beyond moral benefits, there are economic benefits to this. Economic growth, minimal effect on unemployment rate, while massively rising on the number of individuals that are contributing through taxes and other forms, and additional funding to Social Security, welfare, Medicaid, etc. With this added income, they will allow us to construct, install, deploy, and maintain tactical infrastructure and technology along the U.S. border so that we can improve awareness and operational control of the border that can allow us to deter, impede, and detect illegal activity in high traffic areas along said border. As well as there are other fees that come into our tax budget, such as the DACA application fee of $495 and a travel fee of $575 if they seek to leave the country during their stay here, after which they would have to pay $495 again to come back into the country. All of this funding into our programs. So what's better politically? We think allowing the DACA program to remain in action is far beneficial. There's less negative implications to United States citizens. On the contrary, DACA applicants are beneficial to society. In an article written by Thronton David, Closing the Gap, it was titled and peer-edited, he clearly states, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights declares that the family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. What's better socially? This aids in filling positions that are less desirable to United States citizens. And our stance is obviously the affirmative side of the DACA extension, and we don't believe these individuals should be departed from us. Because the non-citizen's right to remain is not absolute, but neither is the state's rights to expel, as also stated in the peer-reviewed journal article by David Thronton. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker 1 from Team A. Speaker 1 from Team B, you now have the floor to present a constructive speech.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Yuliano Vu.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to provide a brief roadmap, I'm just going to be continuing along with their definitions, add an inherency, our counter plan, and added on benefits. Judge ready? Everyone's ready? Resolved, the United States federal government should pass the 3-year Border and Daca Extension Act. So in terms of the definitions provided by the Act, we'll agree with them, but we're going to add on to that by explaining what Senate Bill 2464 is, which is 3-year Border and Daca Extension Act. provided by Senator Flake himself to improve border security and to provide conditional provision residence to certain long-term residents who enter the United States as children. Our inheritance for today is what the Congress and Biden administration has proposed, which is subpoint A, border security. There's going to be a $25 billion trust fund for the border wall system, ports of entry and exit, and northern border improvements and enhancements. They said they're going to close legal loopholes. Doesn't really specify what these loopholes are. They want to ensure the detention of illegal immigrants or border crossers, regardless of country of origin, and there's going to be a prompt removal. Subpoint B is Daca legalization. There is vague guidelines provided in terms of path to citizenship, and the status subject to whether or not you are deemed a national security concern is very subjective. Subpoint C is curtailing legal immigration. They stated specifically that they want to end the lottery and reallocate visas. Doesn't really specify where they're going to reallocate these visas to, and they want to end chain migration. So the counterplan for today: resolve the United States federal government should work on collaborative border security efforts with Mexico through BEST, Border Enforcement Security Task Force, and SPP, Security and Prosperity Partnership, as well as creating comprehensive immigration reform by providing extra immigrant visas to clear the backlogs would do much to alleviate the pressure for some individuals to enter in violation of immigration laws and ensure a more timely pathway to citizenship. So, net benefit 1, border security, specifically McNeil 09. A smart approach to border security is the Border Enforcement Security Task Force, which is BEST. BEST is a program that couples U.S. federal, state, and local law enforcement with Mexican law enforcement to share information and collaborate on matters such as border crime. Neither country is forced to cede control over its border to the other. Instead, both the U.S. and Mexico would work together to tackle border challenges voluntarily while maintaining individual sovereignty. Economic benefits with McNeil 09 again. SPP works as a forum to increase dialogue between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. The three countries have used the SPP to work together to find new avenues to improve the flow of commerce, cut red tape, and increase consistency of trade rules and regulations, as well as to increase security. The impact of these two benefits specifically is that the $25 billion trust fund originally allocated to the 3-year Border Daca Extension Act can actually be used towards comprehensive border and economic security reform. Now on to comprehensive immigration reform, Ping 13. The immigration system, visa system specifically itself, is archaic. The country's outdated immigration policy is incapable of dealing with 21st century immigration patterns and economic realities. No doubt current family, immigration, and employment categories can be better honed to meet immigration and employment categories, the types of demands of U.S. individuals and employers. However, many families, employers, and individuals need greater flexibility today, given residence and travel needs. That means that flexibility in terms of visa entries and residence requirements should be built into our current system to accommodate those needs. B, our immigration enforcement regime is due for legislative reassessment as well. In the past few years, overzealous enforcement programs such as the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Secure Communities program that has swept up victims of crimes, minor offenders, and even crime witnesses have received some attention. For example, similar concern has been raised by the racial profiling of Muslims, Arabs, and South Asians. Part of the tragedy of these laws is that the term aggravated felony includes selling $10 worth of marijuana, smuggling a kid sister across the border, and even some crimes like theft, burglary, perjury, and obstruction of justice that a state court has classified as a misdemeanor. There's a problem when spouses of citizens and parents of citizen children are deported as aggravated felons without giving an immigration judge the opportunity to decide whether the deportee deserves a second chance. The point is that binary analysis of immigration reform that is classically about greater enforcement versus legalization, like the app is stating, should only be a start. Cooler, more thoughtful heads can come together with more peaceful, meaningful ideas, such as our counterplan, than militarizing the border. Comprehensive immigration reform is the opportunity to think innovatively and expansively about the real needs of this country, as well as the newcomers. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker 1 from Team B. We'll now have crossfire between the first speakers. So if both speakers will go up front, we can get that started.
You can go first.
Time starting now.
So my question to you is, are you against the increased funding along the border to stop immigration into the U.S.? Are you against increased funding at all?
You mean the $25 billion trust fund that they're allocating towards creating this border?
Yes. So, and why are you against it?
we're against it because we feel as though using that amount of money, that large amount of money, could be used towards comprehensive immigration reform and better border security programs such as BEST and SPP.
So these better immigration programs, what are your goals with them? They are not,
They're going to increase border security without building a physical wall.
Okay, but all of the money will not be allocated purely to a wall. It will be amongst other things. But what I'm more straightly trying to ask is, do you think that throwing money at the wall will not decrease illegal immigration?
The point is that we're trying to reallocate that money towards SPP, BEST, and using comprehensive immigration reform, like our second point within our net benefits insolvency. So, okay. So my question is: so do potential DACA recipients encompass all immigrants?
No, it does not.
Right. Also, I wanted to clarify for your observation. You say that this was a human rights issue, right? But the DACA program, the DACA Extension Act is only 3 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then your Advantage 1, you talk about the economic benefits, and that's just specifically towards employment and Social Security?
Primarily, yes.
Okay, and then your Advantage 2 is talking about control of the border. So that's just going to be the physical wall, right? That's where all the money's going to.
No, it's increased enforcement.
Okay.
It's increased. It's improvements to the wall and other things.
Okay, thank you. And then how is it going to what are the political benefits and social benefits to this?
The political benefits of DACA. I can be more specific with the question.
What are the political and social benefits, as you have stated in your Advantage 3, towards this resolution?
So obviously, besides the economic and moral benefits, I think it's improper to possibly deport these individuals who have grown up here their whole lives to a country they're unaware of for an extended period until you guys can come up with a better form of entry or legal immigration for these individuals.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Speaker 2 from Team A, you now have the floor.
Yeah, sorry.
What I would like to first point out is that while we have talked about the economic and social advantages and disadvantages of this bill, we haven't discussed the morality of the bill as a whole. These kids came to this country when many of them weren't even able to talk or comprehend the situation at hand. It was mentioned that crimes by illegal immigrants, specific crimes, I would like to point out that U.S. citizens commit far more crimes than illegal immigrants. These people are human. They come here to better their lives. People don't flee a country for no reason. You're fleeing because there's something to get away from. You're fleeing because you want to better your life. You're fleeing because you can't afford to live where you're at right now. And this country, the United States, is giving these people that opportunity. And it has been implied that there is a chance that DACA can promote illegal immigration. Illegal immigration has declined from 11.3 million people to 11 million people since 2009 alone. And according to migrationpolicy.org, DACA is an increase in time for dreamers who entered the United States before 2007 and before their 16th birthday. They have no ability to make these decisions at that age. They are at the leash of their parents in all countries. This is a very exclusive policy and would not encourage people to enter the country as it is past. 2007 is a long time from now. While some people believe that DACA can result in increased government spending. While DACA does not allow a pathway to citizenship, it's a band-aid on the overall issue that is the economic cost of having illegal immigrants present in this country. With their $495 application fee, as well as the $575 traveling fee if they choose to leave, as well as the $495 additional dollars that they will be spending to get back into the country, this isn't costing the immigration portion of our government as much money as is being implicated here. Americans strive to help people when they are in other countries. We do humanitarian trips, churches go on missionary trips all around the world trying to help people, and for some reason, as soon as they step into our country, we're done helping them. They have to get out. They have to go back to wherever they came from, and then we're willing to help them. Then we're willing to feed them. Then we're willing to give them health care. Then we're willing to give them all of the things that they came here for. But they have to do it in places where they're scared to live, scared to be, not getting the educations they deserve, and have the human right to. This is a civil rights issue. This is a humanitarian rights issue. Many people believe that the presence of unauthorized immigrants is harmful to the economy and would like to see steps taken to reduce their presence. However, in a repeal or rollback of DACA could harm the economy and cost the U.S. government a significant amount of lost tax revenue. These people, that is according to Fortune.com. And 216 of the Fortune 500's companies are started by immigrants, and that's not represented through these arguments. DACA in many ways are contributing to the United States economy, education system, and workforce. There is so much positivity coming from these illegal immigrants just in our own state. In less than an hour from here at McKinney Boyd High School, Marissa Martinez graduated valedictorian and made a speech announcing her legal status and talked about the prejudice against her. She is now at Yale furthering breaking stereotypes on these illegal immigrants, and it causes a lot of this long process can be aided by the presence of DACA, which she would have been able to obtain if she entered the country prior to 2007. She even stated, "By sharing my story, I hope to convince all of you that if I was able to break every stereotype based on what I'm classified as, the world would be a better place." Martinez moved on to Yale, where she continues to contribute positively to our country and stop stereotypes.
Thank you, Speaker 2. Speaker 2 from Team B, you now have the floor.
Do you need my name?
Yes.
Haley Haffler.
Okay.
I didn't read mine. Like, were we supposed to give you our names? I don't think. Did
No,
give
I
you
know
mine?
you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
I was just clarifying, sorry.
No, you're good.
All right, I'd like to take this time to restate the resolution here. It is that the U.S. federal government should pass the 3-year Border and Dock Extension Act. Our resolve is that the U.S. federal government should work on collaborative border security efforts with Mexico through BEST, which stands for the Border Enforcement Security Task Force, and SPP, which is the Security and Prosperity Partnership, as well as creating comprehensive immigration reform by providing extra immigrant visas to clear the backlogs. This would do much to alleviate the pressure for some individuals to enter into the United States in violation of immigration laws, and it would ensure a more timely pathway to citizenship. So I'd like to point out some negatives to DACA. First off, it is not a comprehensive solution for non-citizens because there is no pathway to citizenship that it provides. Recipients are not eligible to receive any federal benefits. It is a short-term band-aid to a larger immigration problem that is not being confronted at all. There are no protections to ensure that the information you provide for your DACA application will not be used against you at a later date. It is not amnesty, and it will not free you of legal consequences for past infractions, which may still disqualify you from other immigration processes. Bottom line here is that it is temporary, it is not a permanent solution to any of the problems. With our counter plan, I'd like to point out some other bills that have been introduced, and these bills would encourage and maybe even increase bipartisanship within the issue. So the first already introduced bill is the Recognizing American Children Act. This is a bill that could provide more than 750,000 young immigrants that are participating in DACA, as well as other eligible young undocumented immigrants brought to America as children, the opportunity to earn legal status. This bill essentially codifies what DACA is while providing a path to citizenship, which DACA fails to do. The second already introduced bill is the American Hope Act. This act would provide the fastest path to citizenship. This bill, if enacted, would give immigrants who arrived before their 18th birthday and before December 31st of 2016 an opportunity to apply for legal status if they meet certain requirements. If approved, they would receive a form of conditional permanent resident status, which is CPR, that's what it stands for, that would allow them to live and work here in the U.S. for 3 years. I'd like to point out that time as a recipient of DACA counts towards this time for CPR status. And after those 3 years on that status, they could then apply for legal permanent resident status. And then after the time spent as a legal permanent resident, they could then apply for citizenship. Again, these are just some bills previously introduced, but I feel that they would work with our counter plan, and introducing them just goes to show that there are other more constructive ways to tackle immigration. While we are negating the resolution to extend DACA, this does not mean that we are against immigrants. If the government really wants to look out for Dreamers' best interest, then they need to strongly consider legislation that will actually lead to citizenship, which is what Dreamers ultimately want. And I'd like to point out that it was stated by the affirmative that this is kind of a morality issue, and I can kind of see where it is, but if the affirmative really thinks that this is a human rights issue, then they wouldn't settle for a 3-year extension. They would settle for something that was more comprehensive, something that provides permanent citizenship, and something that is just better for recipients all around.
Thank you, Speaker 2. We'll now have a period of CX between the second speakers. So if both speakers will go up front, we can get that started. Three minutes starting now.
Okay, in your original statements, you did bring up about Border Patrol and how that would be increased through introducing a new policy such as the American Help Act. But over the past 24 years, the amount of money spent on border security has increased 14 times. The number of Border Patrol agents have increased to 500%. The amount of border wall has grown from 77 miles to 700 miles since 2000, and the amount of money we're spending on it is still below $10 million a year. So do you feel, with this in mind, do you feel it would be fiscally responsible to spend the $60 billion to deport all of the Dreamers?
I don't, but at the same time, it doesn't matter, because if they, if we're spending it, go ahead.
I would just like to acknowledge, though, that you did state that, or one of your associates did state that the border security could be increased with the money spent through these immigration programs, but we're still spending $7.3 million a year or so versus the $60 billion it would cost to actually deport them. So is that really the kind of investment that we should be making right now?
I do see and I do believe that it will cost a lot of money to deport every recipient if it does come, when it does come to an end. But I believe that it will be more constructive, and it will probably maybe cost a little bit less to come up with something more comprehensive and long-term.
And I have one more question. You did say that why would the U.S. or why would we be willing to settle if it's a humanitarian rights issue for just the 3 years? And it's frankly because that's what we can get right now. If you have a proposal that can give us something better than that, can give these kids this opportunity just for a few more years, I think we're all open to hearing that.
So you mentioned that it's a morality issue. What do y'all have any more ideas for instead of extending it? Like, what's going to happen once it's extended? Are y'all planning on making Congress put in more legislation during that time of extension?
We have to hope that in some cases it's far bigger than just the Dreamers at that point. It does become an immigration as a whole issue because it does need to become easier to become a United States citizen in counterpart, because they wouldn't be in this situation if it was an easy and accessible process for illegal immigrants once they arrived here to become United States citizens. Unfortunately, they were in a situation when they did arrive that they couldn't assist their parents in that situation. In some cases, their parents may not have been fully aware of the procedures they may have needed to take in to be here legally and let their children stay here legally as well.
Thank you, speakers. Speaker 3 from Team A, you now have the floor.
In regards to going back to one of our first advantages is growth, economic growth. Now, as we mentioned, about 16% of Dreamers purchase their first home after becoming DACA recipients. This also contributes to taxes, to continuing taxes. It's going to, and even that property, you can also grandfather that property over to somebody else. So the properties are purchased off the market, and we're going to continue to get revenue from this property itself, as well as the vehicles taxes every year. Not to mention, we collect about 10 billion state and local taxes back in 2010 from illegal immigrants. These immigrants will never see, the majority of them never get these tax refunds reimbursed to them. As far as continuing to benefit the economy, 15 billion of their funds have been contributed to the Social Security benefits, which DACA recipients neither do illegal immigrants get to participate in this sort of program, as well as these particular applicants are not a public charge to the United States. They do not qualify for Medicaid, do not qualify for state CHIP for their children or for themselves, even though they are minors in some cases. And again, not to mention, these individuals are also continue to contribute to the economy by creating employment. They create businesses which recruit additional employees who are taxed. Not to mention, they pay their taxes on said business, and as well as the formation of the business, state taxes and federal taxes yearly. And then in Arizona, DACA recipients no longer receive state tuition, so they're also having to pay out-of-state tuition, which again, more revenue for the state in particular. So we get the benefits of living there for about a year and getting to pay the discounted fee. These particular students don't have that advantage, therefore they're paying a little bit more for the same education we're receiving. And this education also is going to again benefit the United States. And then there was also an article that referred back to illegal immigrants taking the jobs of the United States. There's actually no evidence as far as them ever taking any employment from United States citizens. This is, like I mentioned before, they're actually creating more employment for additional citizens here in the States. Also, as far as these individuals having the accessibility to adjust here, we understand that this is just, like we mentioned before, a temporary Band-Aid during the process of coming up with addressing the far greater issue of applying or allowing residents or allowing undocumented to apply for residency, which can in turn apply for citizens. In the meantime, while these individuals are here under DACA, they have the opportunity to congregate amongst other residents, citizens, and build relationship, which in turn can turn into a romantic relationship. And at one point, they were able now to apply for residency. So just because they are DACA applicants does not mean they are not able to, does not mean they are be able to adjust their legal status.
Done? Okay.
Thank you, Speaker 3.
Oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm going to collect my thoughts.
Clear?
Yeah, it's clear. Thanks. As stated previously by our first speaker, our comprehensive DACA and border protection plan would not only improve the safety of our shared border with Mexico, but do so in a way that emphasizes long-term economic strength for both countries, rather than choose a costly, militarized option that does not address the actual roots of illegal immigration. As mentioned before, the current proposed border wall is estimated to cost American taxpayers several millions of dollars to the tune of $25 billion in total. And let's be real, any threat with enough willpower to enter the country would find ways around it or under it. The White House also fails to clearly define what legal loopholes have allowed, quote, smugglers
smugglers, traffickers, cartels, criminals, and terrorists, end quote, to enter the country. Previous collaborative efforts with BEST and SPP have proven to promote all three nations' own economic interests, increase overall prosperity, and facilitate strategic, effective security efforts on our borders. If the goal is not only to deter and detain illegal crossers, but also act preventatively and proactively, surely cooperation with Mexico and Canada should be prioritized to maximize efficiency. Secondly, it is clear that our outdated visa system and immigration enforcement policies are in need of revision to adapt to the current needs of lawful immigrants. But the broad guidelines established by the White House itself quite loosely define the, quote, good moral character, unquote, required to obtain citizenship. Harmful subjective terms like deeming immigrants public or national safety concerns give less freedoms to those seeking citizenship. Previous programs have severely punished immigrants for offenses like selling $10 worth of drugs or committing minor thefts, subsequently making them completely ineligible for citizenship and subject to revocation of their immigration status altogether. In regards to chain migration, an offensive term coined by the government itself, it usually does not occur with malicious intentions. Our new reformed Daca framework calls for only spouses and minors of citizens to be permitted on sponsorships. Good luck, Grandma. This policy was created under the guise of promoting the nuclear family, but does not give the citizen the freedom to choose which family member to sponsor per whitehouse.gov. Many families are in need of more flexibility, especially those eventually seeking higher levels of employment or, of course, citizenship. Visa flexibility in particular should also be built into the system. As mentioned earlier, and per the framework, as of whitehouse.gov, the visa lottery will also be eliminated, instead allocated to address the, quote, family backlog, end quote, that has riddled and abused the system. Though these intentions are good, unfortunately this is not fair to legal immigrants that had hoped to be awarded a green card, and once again, clear guidelines are not established for how the government plans to swiftly and efficiently locate millions of individuals. To clarify and elaborate on previous points, the $25 billion trust fund used to build a physical barrier that unfortunately will not provide a long-term solution to illegal immigration could better be used to adjust the outdated visa system. Also, it can provide support and funding to BEST, Border Enforcement Security Task Force, to couple U.S. and Mexican law enforcement to collaborate on border crime while maintaining sovereignty. It has been said that Trump's wall will be built by 2020, but that estimate is ambitious for a few reasons. The several billion dollar trust fund has been allotted to construct it, but who's to say that breaches, unforeseen expenses, weather, and more won't delay it? Even for major infrastructural undertakings, topographical challenges, surging costs, and disputes with private landowners can present obstacles that will inevitably be taken advantage of by people seeking to illegally cross. Also bear in mind that Daca in and of itself accounts for a portion of immigrants, those who came as children. The affirmative is defending the security and prosperity of a few but neglecting the future opportunities of many more to come. It is a temporary remedy to a much larger picture, and if you truly want to stand for equality of opportunity, why not pave the way for future generations?
Thank you, Speaker 3. Now we're going to have Grand Crossfire, meaning everyone, you know. You guys can stay seated, it doesn't matter.
It's Grand is right here, so it's all speakers, and then two right here.
Okay, Chelsea, then.
Sorry. We run a tight ship.
All right, the 3 minutes begins now.
So a question that I have in particular to the argument that you made against one of our benefits and that talked about comprehensive immigration reform, your argument was that U.S. citizens commit more crime. How is that relevant to our argument that we need to create comprehensive immigration reform?
You did bring up a specific instance regarding a crime committed by an illegal immigrant. I just wanted to acknowledge that crime doesn't have a zip code per se, and crime will be and was committed here prior to the presence of any illegal immigrant.
Okay. Also, the economic benefits that you provide is just explaining that through this resolution there will be minimal effect on employment and Social Security. There is no actual change that will happen afterwards, or will we have an increased amount of funding? What are the past not affecting any programs that are already in place now? You know what I mean?
I I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so like past what the programs that we already have in place now in terms of like employment and social security, those are the only benefits that this resolution can provide?
Well, there's another resolution of these kids having an extended stay that they won't be booted out, and so we can come up with a more agreeable plan
Of
as
3
to,
years?
yeah, a legal immigration process allowing them in.
Okay.
So we're delaying a chance of getting these kids education and not exporting them until our Congress, who only has a 4% pass rate in the past 2 years on any type of bill, until they can come together and agree on a bill for these kids.
Okay, so then a follow-up question on that then. Why, like you guys stated earlier, one of the speakers, you guys care about the morality of this issue, human rights issue, right? And then that if we presented, if anyone presented a more permanent solution to this issue, that would be better than this resolution.
That was not my implication, I would like to point out. My implication was that if there is another opportunity or a better solution, as we all know, and we can have both agreed that this is a Band-Aid solution for 3 years. This is a 3-year adhesive to this situation, and when it peels open, absolutely we're gonna need a more permanent solution. But no one's proposed one yet. And when it gets proposed, and hopefully in 3 years, we won't have to worry about this, and these kids can continue their lives here.
Yeah, in y'all's introduction, you stated that it's unfair to deport those who are caught committing misdemeanor crimes, such as like selling $10 worth of pot and stuff like that. So you think that those actions should be reviewed by a judge before those people are deported? So do you not believe in like the letter of the law, or are you more of the spirit of the law?
I think what we were suggesting is like, so for example, a U.S. citizen would commit that crime and receive a very, very minor consequence, whereas
Finish.
whereas those who are subject to having their immigration status revoked would be booted out immediately for such a minor crime.
I'm not allowed to respond to that, am I?
No.
So,
In your next speech, bud.
Well, on the rights we're getting, that was the code.
Thank you for Grand Crossfire. Fourth speaker from Team A, you now have the floor to give a final focus or a last shot.
Or which will it be?
good. James Nelson.
Couldn't forget it if I tried.
I had to say it. As the affirmative, we support the 3-year extension of the Daca and border protection. As it stands, there are plans to revoke Daca, and currently only those who are already in the Daca program are allowed to renew their status. The Daca program needs to be extended for another 3 years just to allow the safe and legal immigration status for the children and ensure a more economically sound future for us. Now this is more than just a political and social issue, it is a morality issue, and as America, as the leaders of the free world in general, and the most big country in the world, we need to set we need to set a standard for the rest of the countries that you need to be gracious and accepting of those who are in dire and bad situations. Now, while it is a moral issue, it will benefit us as well economically. It would decrease the unemployment rate and also provide additional funding to governmental programs through the tax dollars that we receive, such as Social Security, welfare, Medicaid, etc. It will also provide additional funding to DHS, or the Department of Homeland Security. We can use those funds to construct, install, deploy, and maintain tactical infrastructure and technology on the U.S. border wall. Also improve awareness, operational control of the border. Also to deter, impede, and detect illegal activity in high traffic areas. We may also use those funds to purchase new aircraft vessels, drones, and other equipment to operate and maintain border security. Now, while we're receiving money through the tax dollars and using those as a benefit, we're also receiving money through the actual applications themselves and other situations. So DACA applicants will be paying that $495 fee, as well as additional fees to travel out of the country once they're already in. That'll be $575, as well as another $495 if they want to come back into the country. Lowering the amount of people deported will also in turn lower deportation costs, saving us up to $60 billion. Additionally, we have earned $10.1 billion through state, local, and federal taxes in the year 2010 by illegal immigrants. And according to an article by the National Immigration Law Center, DACA recipients have provided positive and significant contributions to the economy. The Dreamers do contribute those taxes, which provide higher tax revenue. In addition, they're buying cars and houses and all those which are also taxable. Dreamers continuously contribute those tax funds into federal benefits in which they're unable to qualify for, so it'll be only for those who are already American citizens, which will be a benefit for us. However, it does not deter individuals from eagerly entering the American workforce with their newfound benefits. The Center for American Progress publications estimates that the U.S. could see a loss of $460.3 billion within the next decade should the DACA program cease to exist. And although there are various states that demanded to end DACA, these states fail to notice neglecting these individuals. They stand to lose $8 billion annually in the state's GDP. Roughly 91% of DACA participants are currently employed. This again does contribute to an upsurge in revenue for the USA. Not only do these individuals aid increasing the unemployment rate, but also about 5% of them have created their own businesses, so they're providing job opportunities for other citizens and Dreamers. We are a land of immigrants. Let's act like it.
Thank you, Speaker 4 from Team A. Speaker 4 from Team B, you now have the floor.
I should have used that. It's like a radio alone for like, let's act like it.
Okay, so to provide a brief roadmap, I'm just going to follow the flow of the arguments made today in this debate and then weighting impacts. So, Judge, ready? Client's ready? Okay. So I'm just going to start off with the fact that we can all agree that all immigrants contribute to the society. The debate in question today, what we're really trying to solve is how we're going to combat this issue involving our immigration system. What is the most comprehensive solution? And time again, our counterplan has proved that we can provide more of a comprehensive solution to the various issues regarding our immigration system. As we've stated before, through border security programs such as VETS and SPP, we're going to provide a more collaborative effort with other governments and become allies rather than enemies, which is what the border wall, as the AF likes to advocate for, will end up happening within those two governments. I'd also like to point out the economic benefits to our counterplan. We're looking at using the $25 billion trust fund and allocating that towards actual programs that will not only assist immigrants, but also revamp the archaic immigration visa system we have in place today. And then also, if we're going to make this a morality and human rights issue, which we completely agree with, right? Let's look at the fact that this resolution is completely un-American. The idea of trading a subset of Dreamers' protections for border security money is truly un-American and combats the American values that we believe in of security, prosperity, life, liberty, and happiness, right? But why can't we give those protections to immigrants, people that make up this country as well? Our counterplan fulfills exactly what the affirmative essentially wants, right? To actually aid immigrants. Let's use what I've said earlier to actually fix this system through comprehensive immigration reform, revamping this archaic system like I've stated before. Documented or undocumented, immigrants alike deserve a real solution, which is what this counterplan can offer. The only problem that the AF can actually state that may be a problem with bringing up a whole new plan would be possibly bipartisanship. But this is exactly what this plan can provide, a bipartisan plan that we can enact in Congress. For example, the idea that Republicans and other foes of immigration would like, other foes of immigration would like to say that we need to increase border security, right? How are we going to do that? Instead of implementing a physical wall, which is not going to help relations with the Mexican government or so on and so forth, let's actually stop militarizing the border and let's actually increase ideas of those collaborative efforts and work together. There's a reason why people come to America, because there's opportunity here. That's the reason my family came to America. That's the reason why we live in this country, and why I'm here is because we fled a country that was at war, that was created by first world countries. So instead of having these first world countries combat these third world countries, why don't we come together and help each other? And that's exactly what this plan is going to do. The negative team foresees the counter plan being the best possible solution, and that is why we urge a negative ballot today. Thank you.
Round of applause for all of our